Greetings, fellow programmers. This is Pavel, and I'm here with a Java exercise called driver's license. The exercise states that we are to do the following. Driver's license office asks you to write a program that grades the written portion of the driver's license exam. The exam has 20 multiple choice questions, and here are the correct answers. So question number 1, correct answer is B. Question number 20, correct answer is A. Alright, and our app should store the correct answers in an array. It should ask the user to enter the student's answers for each of the 20 questions, and the answers should be stored in another array. After the answers are entered, the program should display a message indicating whether the student passed or failed, and it says that the student must answer 15 questions correctly to pass. Now the output also should display the total number of correctly answered questions, total number of incorrectly answered questions, and a list showing the question numbers of the incorrectly answered questions. So if I, let's say, make two mistakes, let's say number 7 and number 11, then the output should say, hey, you answered wrong number 7 and number 11. So that's the assignment, and all right, let's get to do it, I guess. So the first thing, I'm going to start with creating the array. Well, first let me just do final integer. I'm gonna call it size, and it equals 20. That's 20 questions, but instead of hard coding 20 into our loops, which we will be using, I'm just gonna use the constant. Now the next thing, I'm gonna create the array of correct answers. These are all characters. Now it would be easier to actually use strings. I mean, you know, like this would be the correct answer. But since these are characters, I am going to use characters. If you follow it, you can as well. You could use strings if you want it. Like instead of, I'm gonna do character array, and you can do string array. So correct answers, and I already have the correct answers here, so I'm just gonna copy paste them. So this is our array of correct answers, 20 correct answers. All right, so index 0 holds correct answers for question number 1, which is B. Index 19 holds correct answer for question number 20, which is A. So since I have this as characters, I'm going to use characters for the next ones too. So it's gonna be character single answer, and you know, the user will be entering one answer at a time, and this is where we're going to store it. So it's gonna be single answer, and it's a character for me, so I'm gonna use character. And since we are getting input and output in and out, I'm gonna use a scanner. Scanner system.in, and that's for our output. You know, when we are reading from the arrays and all that, we will need to do the scanner. I think I need to import I need to import scanner right here. So I need to import Java util scanner. Okay, so now you might be tempted to do something like this: system.out.println, and you will say, please enter number 1, or answer number 1, and then you would go and you would get the single answer, and you would do something like or you wouldn't even need that. You could just use like you could add this answer to our array of user answers, which reminds me, I have to create. I'm gonna create user answers array Well, actually, you know what I want? I don't think I need all the answers. All I need to capture really is the incorrect answers. And from there, I can easily, you know, calculate whether the user passed, and I will have the output because we're supposed to output what answers were incorrect. And of course, the opposite would be to answer which ones are correct. So I just need one array, and I'm going to create it. I'm gonna call it wrong answers or incorrect answers. So it's gonna be where am I? Oh, here. Okay, so it's gonna be another character array called incorrect answers. And I will just do new car, and it's gonna be the size. That's the obviously user can have all the answers wrong, so that's the maximum size. So I'm gonna basically it's gonna match or mimic the correct answers. The idea here is that if I have an incorrect answer, let's say I have incorrect answer number 1, then the index number 0, which represents the number 1, will have that answer stored. If I have question number 15 answer wrong, then the index number 14 will be populated with the answer. So that way I will have all the I won't have to keep the track of the number of the question, because that's gonna be the index of the array that's being populated, and I will also be able to easily store what answer was wrong and match it with the answer that is right from the correct answers array. So that's our incorrect answer. Well, anyway, like I said, you might populate it to do simply one question at a time. You know, answer number 1, store it, answer number 2, store it, and so forth. That's really inefficient, and I'm not gonna do that. I don't think for this exercise it's advisable. I mean, think about what if you had like 50 questions. Would you just go line by line, doing one at a time? So the idea here is to use loops. So and the loop is very simple. For integer I equals 0, I is less than the size, which is 20, and I plus plus. And here we can perform our input from the user. Now remember, we're supposed to validate the input. We're supposed to make sure that the user only enters A, B, C, or D. That there's no other input. And the best way to do it is to use a do while loop, like this. Do. So within the for loop, we'll do. I'm gonna create actually another variable. I'll call it integer wrong answers counter. I'll initialize it to 0, and I'm gonna create a boolean, and I'll just call it wrong answer, and basically it will be set true or false depending on whether the answer was correct or not. So in our do loop, I will initialize the wrong answer to false, like assuming the answer will be correct. I'll initialize it to false, and I can do now get the input. So system.out.print. I'll just do print instead of print line, and you'll see a little later why. I will do please enter your answer to question number, and we can append the number to it, which would be I, but you don't want to do I because I starts from 0, so it's actually I plus 1. So I'll put it in a bracket or parentheses, I plus 1. That's because I is the index, and plus 1 will actually match the number of questions. We start from question number 1, not from question number 0. But the index in the array starts from 0, of course. So that's why I plus 1. And I'll append a little like that, so just to kind of format it. So that's our question, or the prompting the user. and now we can store it in our we can do our single answer equals, and since this is a character, I'm scanning the user input, so scan dot next line, but next line is a string, as you can see, so this is actually not gonna work exactly as we planned, because if I point it here, it says type mismatch, cannot convert from string to char, and if I try to cast it like that, it still won't work. So but the character that we are interested in is, if I type something like this, a whatever, then I'm only really interested in the first character. That's the answer. The rest, I would assume, is just a heavy hand by the user, you know, just type in nonsense. So instead of doing like I said, you could have it all in strings and that would be easier, but over here we can always do just capture the character and only the first one, which is the index 0, and now that's a character. So we have a single answer and we capture the character. If there's more characters, we only capture the first one. If there's only one, well, that's the one we capture. So that's our character. But one thing, if you notice, I have these in capital, and you know, if capital B is not the same as lowercase b, they would not be the same, they would not match. So over here, when I go to scan next line, I will do that to uppercase. In other words, I will convert the input from the user to uppercase, then to character, and then I'll pass it to our single answer variable.